Three, two, one. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's me, the Universe Reactor, and in this video, as you've seen from the title of it, I am going to be sharing my thoughts about Superman 2025, directed by James Gunn. Yes, that is correct. Now, before I do so, consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel. Reason why I'm saying this, if you noticed, again, a lot of videos have come out just in the past couple of days after I took a little break, just managing other stuff out. But now that I'm back into it, you guys don't want to be left behind either. As soon as I publish a video onto the channel, definitely get notified for that as soon as possible. All right, let me just get my notes pulled up about the film. I have it over here on the screen, so just quickly share my thoughts about it, and of course spoilers included before I get into spoiler territory, and that should also be in the title of this video. All right, with that being said, let's begin. So the film Superman, starring David Cornswat as Superman, Clark Kent, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, David Fillion as Green Lantern, Millie Alcock as Supergirl, Isabella Marcet as Hawkgirl, Bradley Cooper as Jor-El, and a couple of other people in this film. Just looking at the main cast listing over there. Of course, Frank Grillo's back from Creature Commandos in this one as Rick Flag Sr. Got a bunch of other people in this one as well. So yeah, just a quick run through of the cast over there. Of course, writer and director, beloved James Gunn, director of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. So coming into this film, right, this part of the DC universe, is actually somewhat interesting because I, for one, don't really react to a lot of DC stuff that often. Just putting that out there. The reason for that is because I'm much more into Marvel. That's just because Marvel's been doing better. It's just been more popular. So I choose to talk about things that are overall popular, but I have been a Marvel fan for a couple of years, so that part of me is still out there. DC, seen a couple of their films, of course, but just not the biggest fan because the quality hasn't been as big. But once James Gunn stepped in, we got Creature Commandos, watched it, reacted to that on the channel, so you can definitely check that out. And saw Superman, of course. I had to, For many people, maybe even for you guys, it may have been your highest anticipated film of the year, most anticipated film of the year, or maybe means the same thing. Who knows? So definitely wanted to see this, and as soon as possible too, because not really Marvel fan or DC fan here. I'm coming to see this as a James Gunn fan. So saw it Tuesday, July 8th, as part of the Amazon Prime early screening thing that they did. Whatever, and I did go and drive to an IMAX theater to watch it in IMAX because I'm like, you know what? If I'm seeing this early, might as well go all the way and check this one out on IMAX. So yeah, just a little bit of history and background before I start dissecting the film later. And I'm gonna be at a loss of words a couple of times because as a film in general, it was pretty good in my opinion. I can't really say too many negatives about it because there are a lot of positives, but I guess we'll find out if I give it a full 10 out of 10 or not. And I will provide some background behind that. So if you've just been reading the reviews for the film, it's been all over the place. You got the people who love it, hate it, the in-betweeners, and who knows? No, the rest of us fall in line somewhere on that spectrum, right? For those of us who've seen the film, and assume we've all seen it, so we're ready to talk about it. All right, let's begin. I'm just going to go through the film at first and then share my thoughts about it. All right, let's start. So the opening of the film, as mentioned from the trailers, it was showing us that it says on the screen, Superman has been on Earth for like 3 years now, I think, or something like that. He's been there for some time, and then he's been working for the Daily Bugle for like 3 months or so, whatever. That's when like he and Lois have been interacting with each other. Of course, we have Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, who is amazing in the film and obviously has this grudge against the metahumans, but also has a strong hatred, I'll phrase it like that, against Superman. Doesn't know who his identity is, but he just thinks of him as some sort of alien who I guess needs to be destroyed because he views him as inferior and as someone who would, if he turns, could be bad for the people on Earth. He doesn't care how many lives he saves, any of the good he does. He's always viewed him as a threat that needs to be eliminated. So that's Lex's point of view, and the comics go much more in depth into that than this film does. It does try to capture his evilness to an extent, but I'm not going to go all into that. There's just a lot more to discuss. Anyways, he sent, I forgot what it was called, like this hammer alien thing after him. I forgot the actual name of it. You guys can correct me in the comments below. But they have this big fight, and Lex, of course, has spent many months studying and tracking Superman's movements, his fight patterns, things like that. He's been analyzing all of that. And Lex, to a degree, is super duper smart. You know, even though he's very egotistical, maniacal, whatever, he is smart, of course. One of the smartest villains for sure within the DC world. So he's definitely found ways to hurt and weaken Superman, just, you know, beside the cheap way of using kryptonite or whatever to weaken him, which we know will work, but kryptonite is something harder to get his hands on. So he resorts to methods like these. He has LuthorCorp in his background team working for him and helping him out, and then he just says words and numbers, like A12, B13, whatever, as like punches and kicks for him to use to help instruct his monster, like this insane being, how to fight Superman and how to weaken him. So he does all those things, and it says that this battle that they must have had was one of the first times where Superman actually lost. He felt a lot of pain, all those things. He got severely beaten. And when we saw him, this is kind of how the film opened up, right? He was bleeding, and he signals Krypto by whistling him, his pet dog, to take him to the Fortress of Solitude to get healed. And that is how the film opens up, right around there, first couple of minutes into that. And then he has all these like robots, I guess, who help him out, who don't have names, they just have numbers, like number 4, beloved number 4, of course, and others. And they heal him with the power of the yellow sun, which is our sun, because we have one, which is yellow. So all that is going on, right? And then he goes back to his normal daily life as Clark Kent, working for the Daily Bugle, and has his relationship with Lois Lane. So we're getting established the basic details of it. And the other thing is, when he was getting healed, to sort of soothe him, they played the message from his biological parents from Krypton. And the more backstory, I guess, is they sent him to Earth a while back when he was a kid, because their planet Krypton was being destroyed, so they sent him to Earth for protection so that he can live there, grow up there, all those things. And he believed that his parents sent him there to look after Earth and take care of it, and help the people out when he grows up and he gets his powers, things like that. And on Earth, he was raised by, I believe, Kansas farmer's mom, Pa Kent, took care of him, right? So that's sort of his history on that end. And so the film goes on like normal. There's this background, I guess, that this war was going on between these countries, right? I forgot what exactly their names were. They're definitely not real countries. They might just be part of the DC world. But Superman's argument is he helped stop the war, but it didn't interfere in it. And I believe the president of the country, which he believes is on the evil side, which it turned out to be correct. He threatened him to, call the war off and stop all of this, and it probably does work because he's just a human being, even though he does have power. Superman is Superman, I guess. So with all this heat and tension going on, things aren't looking the best for him. So instead, obviously, Superman, most people think of him supporting American interests, even though the country whose president he threatened is an ally of the US. So that doesn't look good, politically speaking, I guess. Anyways, he's also able to get a bunch of interviews with Superman. Clark Kent is, and of course, that's possible because he is the same person. And Lois argues, well, you know all the questions in advance, so why don't I interview you instead? So Lois decides to interview Superman, which is interesting. So they have this little shatter, and we've seen clips of it from the trailers. Of course, you can imagine how it goes. First, it starts off okay, but when Lois, being the journalist that she is hits him with heavy questions, he does get kind of angry, and it ultimately says that, I don't care, what the president wants or what these countries are doing. He's just looking after the people, and the ones from the weaker country who are about to be taken over don't really have anyone to look after them. So he argues that, he wasn't acting as a representative of anyone but himself and doing good. And that's the same line from the trailer. So that does happen, and they get into a little argument over what all happened there. And then we move on from there eventually. So, yeah, after that, obviously, Lex is finding more ways to weaken Superman. So he eventually fights like a bunch of various monsters and beings. He gets injured again, but this local civilian helps him out, picks him up from the ground, and we've seen that same shot from the trailer because I believe Superman did help him out beforehand. And whenever Lex sees this happen, he's like, if any civilian tries to help out Superman, then they also become his enemy, in a certain way. And what Lex also does is he's trying to figure out any ways that he can find something bad about Superman, any dirt he can collect. Then the Department, I guess, of Security or whatever, can use that against him and get him arrested and all those things. That's what Lex's sole purpose has been thus far, and take him to Rick Flag Sr. And once he gives the go ahead, then he'll go, I guess, to prison, and Lex will, you know, interrogate him and all that stuff, but it's more just a punishment from his end, I guess. So you can see how everything's being set in motion. So once Lex goes there, and I believe him and Eve Teskmacher are a thing, but Eve is giving away some information to Jimmy Olsen, who also works at the Daily Planet and is sort of this insider source here, getting all the secret information as to what Lex is doing. So you have all these things being set in motion. Eventually, once Lex infiltrates the Fortress of Solitude, which you've seen from the trailer, he's there, and obviously Crypto the dog is also there. So, he's not the best dog in the world, but he will attack and defend when he has to. So he starts attacking them, but eventually he's able to stop them, and with the help of his assistant, they are able to arrive safe and sound. They destroy a lot of the robots in their way and try to retrieve the second half of the message sent to Superman by his biological parents. And when they try to do so, obviously it's hard at first, but his assistant is able to do it. And the second half doesn't seem too good. It's where his parents say, we'll send you to Earth, you can live a lavish lifestyle, and you can take over these people and become their ruler, conqueror, whatever, So that's sort of what happens, and the people do not take it super happy. Then they sort of think that maybe Superman isn't there to help him, so they start getting angry with him. And of course, as you've seen from the trailers, one person hits him with the can, but he doesn't flinch because he should see that coming. And he decides the best thing to do is to turn himself in, which is what he does. And he's also worried about where Crypto the dog is once he finds out that obviously Lex must have infiltrated the Fortress of Solitude, so he goes after him for that instance. And becomes like John Wick. No, I'm kidding. But that is one of the things he's trying to do. So he goes there. Lex takes him in because the Rick Flag Sr. and the rest of the Department of Defense and all must have given him the green light, go ahead to interrogate, punish him, whatever, And alongside of that, we also see the alien from the film, whose son has also been captured by Lex. Little alien baby thing, super weird, all that goes on in there. I've also not mentioned there's this other team, I guess they're like the Justice not Justice Society or something. I forgot their actual name. Where we have Mr. Terrific. He's Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, and Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, right? So they're all there, and they're also trying to find a way to help Superman because Lex transports him to this prison where it's sort of through this like other dimension black hole portal place, super weird in time and space, so that the president from the evil country can successfully take over the weaker country, I guess, you know. And in return, Lex will be given some portion of the land, and he'll supply the president with a lot of money and equipment to help successfully take over the people. So definitely good for Lex, bad for everyone else at this point in the film. So Lois convinces Mr. Terrific to help break Superman out of the prison where he's being held, and in the meantime, Eva is giving some information to Jimmy Olsen about the evil things that Lex is doing. So all these things are being set in motion during this part of the film. And I gotta say, some parts of the film are interesting, but here's sort of where my problems come out. There's just a little bit of too much comedy going on. Of course, there's the running gag between Jimmy Olsen and Eve Teskmacher, and then once in a while these funny things happen, like the garage door where Mr. Terrific's flying saucer is, and where he mentions things about like his T-spheres. So, all these like little bits are there, of course, included for kids and the younger audience, and I think a lot of us can agree there's just a little bit of too much comedy in this. Of course, Superman is meant to be hopeful. A lot of compassion, love, and light, and all these things are supposed to come out. That's sort of the vibrancy and the brightness that this film is representing, which, of course, is good to hear, but just a little bit too much of it in my favor. Overall, it was a pretty good comic book film, but it could have been a better film overall. Kind of like Deadpool and Wolverine, I'd say. Great in terms of a comic book film and just things we're getting, but when the plot gets a little bit of messy here and there, who knows? The movie does play itself fairly safe, like similar tropes and all. There's not too much character development going on with Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, or Green Lantern. They're just pretty much same sort of people, I guess, doing their own things, like whatever traits and persona they have. It's about the same, It just seems like Mr. Terrific is the one who's more happy to save Superman, and the only reason he's doing this is out of pure spite against Guy Gardner. So you can see how, it's like, sure, I guess he cares, but that's just a way to drive the plot forward, I guess. Like, all these characters act like bare minimum, like Rick Flag, like what you'd expect of him, I guess, is what I'd say. Lex, I'd say, does put a bit more effort into it. Of course, he does act like a standard Lex Luthor would, but he does portray his evil side to a very good degree when he starts threatening one of that same person who helped Superman out beforehand. I think what was his name, like Ali or something? I forgot. There's this whole thing about like the sandwich and all. Anyways, so he's threatening all these people, and he does shoot him because while he is interrogating Superman about his true self, about his parents and the message and his implications of why he's here and what he's doing, and Superman is kind of unable to stop all this because that other alien who's there, whose son is being threatened, that alien guy is able to, I guess, access kryptonite in a certain way, which it does weaken Superman by a lot. So not good at this point in the film, all these things that are happening. Eventually, he does get locked up and continues to stay there, but Mr. Terrific and Lois are trying to go to that same portal place where they can bring Superman back. But they gotta do it very quickly. They can't stay there for long, and the alien is trying to help Superman if Superman is able to rescue his son. So all of that happens, and of course the other, I guess, people who are there working for Lex are trying to stop them, but they're unable to do so, and they all escape. And yeah, they're all out. So all this happens, but the film is still not over yet, because they have to find a way to take down Superman. But while all this is happening, of course, the president of the evil country is about to take over the people, and in the meantime, Lex sends out what was it? Superman. Oh yeah. So he sends out Ultraman, which is sort of the adversary, I guess other main villain against Superman. And to like almost no one's surprise, they were both played by the same person. Who would have seen that coming, because he's mainly just a darker, more evil version of Superman under the control of Lex. He was able to, I guess, sample his blood, and that's how he was able to infiltrate the Fortress of Solitude. So yeah, all that happens is they start fighting each other, but Superman is able to gain the upper hand. He goes into space, and then he comes back down, and he defeats him. And Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, and Mr. Terrific are able to stop them. There's another cool scene I forgot to mention where Lois is and Mr. Terrific are about to be attacked by the people from the deserted place where they're at, but Mr. Terrific just uses his T-spheres and all to stop them, and that scene was a fairly fun scene. That's what I'll say. Um, Eventually, Jimmy is able to get pictures from Eve about what Lex has been doing underground. Lex does find out though, and he starts threatening her. And while he does think it's merely just a bunch of selfies from Eve, Lois is able to pierce together the truth about the meaning behind all these selfies and pictures, and it shows how Lex is benefiting by getting some land from the president of the evil country, and basically will make himself like a ruler and king, which Lex deserves to, or what he feels like he should be. So the Daily Bugle, not Daily Bugle, I'm getting mixed up here, the Daily Planet publishes an article exposing to everyone the truth of Lex's real intentions, what he's been doing, and yeah, then everyone finds out. It starts going all over the news, and no one is happy about what he's been doing. Man, Superman becomes a good guy once again, and has this little speech moment with Lex, and yeah, all that happens. He has Crypto again, and yes, everything is fine. Then he goes back to the Fortress of Solitude to get healed, and they show a message from his parents, but this time it's by the parents who raised him, who do appear in this film a little briefly, but it's pretty much the same moments you've seen from the trailers. And yeah, then the film ends right around there. We get two post-credit scenes. One is Superman on the moon, I think, with Crypto, or I don't know if he was on the moon, but he was in space. Little frame of that, and then the other one was with him and Mr. Terrific looking over some of the damage which was done. And yeah, that's about that. The Daily Planet is there. They don't do too much, but we get a couple of scenes here and there. They do help out from time to time, but for example, like Eve Teskmacher is there. She's fine, I guess. And I think Kat Everdeen, or whatever her name was, she's there as well for a little bit. But I don't know how much she actually speaks in the film, besides maybe a few words. And but I did like Perry White. He was a cool addition in the Daily Planet, I'd say, of course. And Mr. Terrific, definitely, the actor who played him, definitely got a redemption after X-Men First Class. And I'll be honest, I do not like the film too much, but his death scene is probably one of the main reasons I don't like the film. It's just a lot of stupidity. But if you like that film, it's fun. I don't know, I'm getting distracted here. If you guys may have noticed or not, they did bring a lot of Marvel actors into this film. Some actors who may have tried out for Marvel roles, like I believe David Cornswell was mentioned. He did try out for the role. I think it was, what was it, Adam Warlock, right? I think that was revealed to be the case. Of course, Rick Flag Sr.'s Frank Grillo did play Crossbones from Marvel, but he was barely there. He only showed up in Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Civil War, which is when he died. But luckily, he went into Creature Commandos and solidified his role as Rick Flag Sr. And of course, Sean Gunn did appear as Maxwell Lord. He did say that, one thing Democrats and Republicans can agree on is that Lex is a bad person. And we did get to see John Cena cameo as Peacemaker in the film for a brief moment when people thought that Superman was a bad guy because of what his true intentions were. So that was a perfect opportunity for him to make fun of him because that's just classic Peacemaker. He has this strong gripe against actual superheroes, I'd say. He already made fun of Green Arrow beforehand and a couple of others, so it's just classic Peacemaker, I'd say. What else? Went through the post-credit scenes. I guess that is what happened. But I would like to see more of him and Mr. Terrific work together. That would be cool. And I guess maybe if Lex Luthor and Joker could work together once the Batman film comes along, Batman Brave and the Bold, if that's what it's still set to be called, who knows? A lot of things are possible, and the future of the DC world does look fairly bright, I'd say. This film did knock it out of the park. A pretty good start for this franchise. So I think James Gunn did solidify it fairly well. Enough. I discussed the film. Now let's get to the chase. Cut to the chase, and I'll get to my rating fairly soon. But of course, you have all these Zack Snyder cultist fans, stands, whatever of him, trying to bring this film down, even though it was fairly enjoyable, I'd say. As I mentioned earlier, from a comic book film standpoint, pretty good, fairly accurate to what these characters represent, but their arcs could have been explored further for certain characters. I'd imagine this is more of an introduction. We'll probably get more sequels, maybe look into these characters a bit more, but it was definitely a fresh, new take on the character of Superman, but similar traits we have seen beforehand. And of course, we did get towards the ending of the film, we did see Supergirl, and I believe Crypto is her dog, so I guess he was taking care of Crypto for her. So I guess we're getting a Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow soon. Who knows? We'll get a trailer for that, but yeah, I guess just things to look forward to within this world. And it does seem fairly promising. So I guess James Gunn, of course, did deliver a classic film in a style. Crypto was in danger a couple of times, but not killed. And if he was killed, well, I guess that would prove how James Gunn hates animals. No, I'm kidding. I believe he even did make fun of Crypto a little bit. Nothing the cast members did, or just the dog, I guess. But he is cute, so that is working out for him. And yeah, overall, an 8.5 out of 10. That's what I'd say. Comedy was a bit much. Some scenes were a bit much, but other than that, I would say I enjoyed it. Perfectly placed between an 8 out of 10 and a 9 out of 10. Right in the middle for me. Let me know what you guys thought of the film in the comments below. I've shared everything I had to. So yeah, I know you guys are waiting for this one. Anyways, Eagle Reviewer / Reactor is out. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.